Well, when did you know that, you were really in the thick of this quarterback race?
I pretty much knew last year after we finished up the season, after I'd gotten some playing time throughout the year, meaningful and also towards the end of the game, mop-up duty. I had a pretty good idea that, I was going to have my shot, and the coaches reiterated that going into spring ball and throughout all spring ball, so I pretty much knew the whole time.
How should that Minnesota game give you confidence or change the way you approach it?
Yeah, it would give probably anybody confidence, to be able to go into a game like that and make an impact and eventually win the game. You carry that with you. Not that you're, living in the past, but you can do it, and you can do it going forward. So,
how different is this competition than last year's competition?
Last year spring or last year fall?
Probably fall, I guess.
Well, yeah, because spring, no one really knew what was going on. It was a new system and everything. But fall, I guess Shane kind of solidified his spot coming out of spring, and then it was kind of between Rudock and Shane for the first week and a half. And then I kind of started getting in the mix a little bit, but then Rudock distanced himself from the pack. But now this is more wide open, and I think they kind of had the mindset that it was going to be Rudock last year during camp. That's just how transfers work. But this year it's anyone's job.
How have they gone about reiterating that to you guys before spring? You mentioned that.
Yeah, they mentioned it before spring pretty much every day. They mentioned it during we called it like the bowl camp that we had. They said that was the audition leading up to spring ball for everyone besides Jake, obviously. And then pretty much every single meeting and every practice, every rep, it's said over and over again. So we understand.
Why could it be you? What are you doing out there?
Well, obviously, this past year when I had my one opportunity to play meaningful football, I was able to get the job done, and I've done well carrying that into spring ball and leading the team and showing confidence that the guys can trust in me, and then just making plays, just moving the ball down the field and not turning the ball over and just not making as many mistakes as the next guy.
We practiced on Saturday. It looked like you were there with the first offense most of the time, first one. Has that been the way it's been, or do you guys rotate through everything?
Well, down in Florida, I think it was open practices. I'm not sure, but it was a 1-1-1-1. The next week was a 1-1-1-1, and then going into that third week, it was more of like okay, let's solidify more of a depth chart of our reps or who's getting more or less. So yeah, that's kind of how it's been.
Is there an order right now?
It's still an open competition. Today was like the same as what we did this past Saturday at Ford Field with the ones, and just John and Shane and all of us are kind of rotating through.
That situation last year where Shane was listed number 2 on the depth chart, and probably coming out of fall camp he was number 2, but then you were the one coming in to finish games off.
Yeah.
How was that communicated to you, that the approach, and just, how did you understand it to be?
I guess Shane had asked for or expressed that he'd be cool with getting a red shirt if he wasn't going to be the starter, and so I guess initially I was going to go in for like the mop-up duty, but then I started playing a lot better than I had been before, and I guess gained coach's trust and confidence, and Shane could keep his red shirt because I'd kind of moved into that backup spot.
Did you know prior to the Minnesota game that you were the one that would come in if there was an injury?
Yeah, I knew for 2 or 3 weeks prior to that. Really after week 1, maybe week 2, I pretty much knew that.
Jim said Saturday that every quarterback's had a big mistake. What's been your big mistake?
Yeah, that's obviously the biggest thing right now. The biggest focus is making the least amount of mistakes as possible. And I don't know if mine's so much like turning the ball over or just monumental mistakes as much as just like the little things of converting a 3rd and 4 or converting a 3rd and 6 or something like that, where it's easy. You can do it. You can fix it. You just have to focus, and that's kind of my big thing, is just focusing and knowing I can do that instead of turning the ball back over on downs and the other team gets the ball.
Last year when Coach Robert described the competition, it was a lot about who's going to come in and take over and be the leader and be in charge of the team. Is that still a focus, or is it more of a kind of an on-the-field thing so far this spring?
Well, I think it's coaches are all about on-the-field production. Obviously, at the quarterback position, you've got to lead off the field in the classroom, up on campus. It's not just it's not a position that requires you just to dominate, between the yard lines, but just do everything in every facet of your life the right way.
What does John do well? What does Shane do well? What have you seen this spring? I mean,
Yeah, obviously both of them, everyone knows Shane's got the rocket arm. John's not far behind in that category. John's really athletic. He makes a lot of plays with his feet. If it's not there, he likes to run. And Shane understands now that if he needs to put touch in the pass, he can put touch in the pass. And I don't know if that's been his strong suit in the past, but he's really worked on that and gotten a lot better at that as well.
Where do you think you're ahead of them?
As far as like moving the ball down the field and 2-minute drills and stuff like that, they keep like a point system or whatever, and just looking at like the stats, I guess that's where I kind of distance myself. But I think all three of us are working really hard and doing the best we can to lead the team and earn that starting job. So.
Jim said after practice Saturday, he said in Florida too that this team is more athletic and it's just a
Very.
better team than last year.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you seeing that?
Well, obviously, just second year in the system, you're able to be loose and be able to just be yourself and go full speed. Whereas last spring, this time, every time we'd call a play, you could see every position thinking, okay, what do I have here? Like, I better not mess this up. This is my footwork. Whereas this year, it's just full throttle. And obviously, we lost a lot of playmakers and a lot of guys like Willie and a lot of guys went to the NFL. But young guys are stepping up, and the guys that were like Darbo, that had a big year last year, has just stepped his game up even more and leading the young wide receivers, saying come with me. So.
And the timing's been there with the receiver versus last year.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot more crisp, a lot more enjoyable.